Hi, my name is James. James Loves Games. Good morning. It is August 22nd, 2023, 6:30 in the morning. This is not getting easier. I keep thinking it's going to get easier, and yet 6 o'clock comes. My goodness, I am sleepy. But it's good for me. I know. It's good for me. It's good for my brain. It's good for my body. Good for my soul. I don't know. But anyway, good morning. Today, it's Tuesday. We're talking about video games, as usual, here at JLG Pod. And you can probably tell from the thumbnail and the title of the video, we're talking about gaming junk food. What do I mean by gaming junk food? I saw something by, it was a clip that Maximilian Dude, if you're unfamiliar, great channel. He posted a clip somewhere on something. I don't even remember what, but he was talking about, I think it was a Darkstalkers game, if you remember the Darkstalkers series. And I remember he called the game trash. And he said, it's trash, but it's good trash. And he went on to say how it's not something that he wants to play all the time, but that, you know, he really enjoys that trash every once in a while. And it really sunk in because it was good timing. It was kismet, it was fate, it was destiny, because as you all know, I've been talking about this for weeks and a lot over the past weekend, but Vampire Survivors came out. I can't even say the name of the game without chuckling because it's its own thing at this point. It came out last Thursday for the Nintendo Switch. And with it, I mean, first of all, okay, I was I was a big Vampire Survivors fan. I think I played it. I think it was the first game I streamed this year. I took a break at the end of last year. I got kind of burnt out. And then Vampire Survivors just like ripped me out of my rest and slumber from streaming for a while. And it reignited my my gaming passion, I suppose you could say. Good morning, Brett Williams. Good to see you. And so I you know, it was only out on PC and I enjoyed it even then. I don't love playing games on my computer. I've said this 1,000 times, but I'm really a console guy at heart. I started out on consoles and they're more familiar to me. They're more comfortable to me. And I've had bad luck with computers, mostly because I've made my own and I'm terrible at making things. I'm terrible at optimizing things, and you know, I can put all the pieces in the right places and they'll work for the most part, but you know, never as well as a professionally designed and engineered and constructed gaming console. But anyway, and I like playing with a controller on my couch. So when I heard that it was coming out on the Nintendo Switch, I was overjoyed to be able to, you know, play it mobile for one thing. You know, the Switch is great for that. But to be able to play it co-op, which was another large piece of the puzzle of why I was so interested in this. And so my wife is also in the same camp as me with regards to Vampire Survivors. We both really enjoyed it. I streamed it once, but gosh, that first week I had it, I probably played it for 24 hours that first week. I mean, I played it a lot, an unhealthy amount, and she somehow managed to play it more than I did that first week. And I think there was one time I woke up and she looked very tired, and I said, "You were up late playing Vampire Survivors, weren't you?" And she said, "Yes." I said, "How late were you up playing it?" And I think she said she was up till like 5 in the morning playing Vampire Survivors. And I had spent a couple nights previously until like 2 or 3 in the morning playing Vampire Survivors. So I get it. But it all comes with a price. So I was super excited when Vampire Survivors was coming out with co-op, 4-player co-op on the Switch. Now I've got Joy-Cons out the wazoo. So the idea of being able to play any game with my wife that we're both excited for like that is always a real treat. And so Brett, you bring up a good point. I'm trying to think of what junk food is in gaming. So this is my roundabout way. Brett, I wouldn't even call simple repetitive games junk food. So here's what I mean by gaming junk food. You know, it's games like Vampire Survivors. And I'm getting to my point where, I mean, it's really not good for you. And, but it's okay to enjoy from time to time. So like this past weekend, I spent every minute I had available playing Vampire Survivors. I mean, since I have kids and since I've had kids and since I've, been working a couple of different grown-up jobs at once, and doing this channel, I haven't had a whole lot of time for extracurricular activities. So like usually if I'm playing a game, I'm playing it for a stream or for a video or for a review or something related to the channel. And my intention was to stream Vampire Survivors at launch, but I ended up having to work and I ended up busy and tired and all this other stuff. But like, I was never too tired to play Vampire Survivors. I played it way too much, honestly. I think like the first 2 days, I probably put in 12 hours of Vampire Survivors in 2 days. And which is a lot for me, like to commit to playing a game, like, especially when I'm getting up some days at 6 to come over here and make a podcast episode. And, other days I'm getting up, all the other days I'm getting up at 6:30 anyway to get my kids ready for school and all that. And so the idea of like staying up late playing a game like Vampire Survivors is a really bad idea, but I couldn't help myself. And so I played it so much, I'm pretty sure I fried my brain a little bit. And so if you remember, it was Sunday night when I was streaming Remnant, I started the stream off by prefacing and saying, I'm pretty sure my brain is fried. Part of that was due to the fact that I was out in the sun too much on Saturday, but I played so much Vampire Survivors, my eyes hurt. I mean, that's really what it broke down to. Like, it wasn't, oh, it's late, we should go to bed, we have responsibilities as adults. It was like, I can't keep my eyes open because they sting, because I've had them open and focused on the screen for too long in a row. And like, I was having Vampire Survivor visions when I closed my eyes. When I closed my eyes, I just saw like experienced gems just like floating towards a central area, vaguely where my character would be. And so there was just this like weird gem vacuum visualization beneath my eyelids. It's sort of like the Tetris effect, if you've not heard of this. When you play Tetris too long and you close your eyes and you have like weird little visions of Tetris blocks falling, or you have dreams to that effect. And man, I was having it bad. And so, yeah, I played it way too much. And to make a long story short, which is too late, right? It's Vampire Survivors is gaming junk food in that there's really nothing good to be gained from it. It's only it's empty calories, right? It's only a waste of time. There's it's pure fun and nothing else. You're not getting any sort of like educational benefit from this. There's not some kind of sweeping narrative with some kind of message. This isn't like The Last of Us where, we're touching on themes about like humanity and fatherhood and relationships and, there's no hidden meaning behind any of this. It's just move the stick and don't die. pick up those gems, pick up those floor chickens, and stay alive. And, you know, as a parent, you know, I've gone back and forth with this, but, you know, a common refrain in our household, you know, being a parent in the modern era, you get concerned with how much time your kids spend looking at screens, and whether it's playing video games or looking at a tablet or watching TV or YouTube or whatever, you get concerned with your kids just sitting idly, being sedentary, and staring at a screen, because you want them moving around, you want them doing something with their time, you know. But at the same time, I realize that I myself, if I have any free time, I'm plopping my butt down and staring at some screen. And then I think back to my childhood. Well, you know, I played lots of video games growing up. Didn't do me any harm, probably. And honestly, I see a lot of good in playing a lot of video games. I can point to certain instances growing up where I had learned something from a video game, whether it was just some vocabulary words or some historical, not facts, but like some kind of historical context related to some event. You know, if you're going to play a game like, for example, Nobunaga's Ambition, which is like a really old Super Nintendo kind of strategy sim kind of thing, where you've got feudal Japan and you play as one of the warlords in one of these different provinces in Japan, and your goal is to rule over all the country. And so you have to use diplomacy to, you know, make ties with some of the other warlords, or you fight with some of the other ones and manage your resources. But you're learning about sort of the history of the warring states period of Japan. And so it's really just like a history lesson in a game. And so for that kind of game, I mean, you're getting some real world value out of that. I mean, granted, I don't know how much value you're going to get as an American living in Oklahoma learning about, you know, the history of Japanese warring states period, but you're getting something out of it. It's some kind of educational benefit outside of just staring at a screen and drooling. And so, a game like Vampire Survivors, to me, it's like the video games our parents warned us about when we were kids. It's like, I don't want you staring at that screen all day, wasting your time. Like, it absolutely is everything that your parents were afraid you were going to be doing. Playing a video game. It's just your eyes are getting tired, your brain's turning to oatmeal, and you're just like drooling, staring at the screen, trying to stay alive 30 minutes at a time. And so, you know, it's good once in a while. I'll say, let's see. Brett Williams says, I still do that with Returnal. I'll just do runs over and over and over. Tower of Sisyphus over and over for 10 hours straight. I can't stop. I get it. But at the very least, you know, you might be getting something out of a game like that, like Returnal. You know, I feel like even just having a game within a 3D environment, you're kind of gaining some sort of spatial awareness, maybe even like hand-eye coordination, because there's so much going on. I feel like even a game where you're utilizing more buttons on the controller and more complex movements and actions, you're utilizing some extra portion of your brain to plan out moves and things like that. But like Vampire Survivors is literally just, it's like you're moving the thumb and you can just shut off your brain. I was patting myself on the back because I could like eat and drink while playing. So it's like, I don't even have to put my controller down. This is great. It was just like, I had lost all of my humanity. I turned into a real vampire. I really did. Jonathan C., good morning. Hey, James in chat. Can't stay in chat, unfortunately, but here to show my support. We'll watch it tomorrow. Thank you very much, Jonathan C. Appreciate it. Brett Williams, Returnal is definitely a very fast special management game. I guess there's that. Yeah. And so that's what, like, most modern games, you're going to get something out of it. And take a game like Red Dead Redemption 2. You know, on the surface, it's just a cowboy sim. It's a rootin' tootin' shooting good time. But you know, you're still, it's fiction. It's set in a fictional place, but you're still getting some kind of a historical context around this. You know, you can have faith in the idea that, like, well, the clothes are period correct, the weapons are period correct. I know Rockstar is going to do their homework. If it's 1911, these are sort of like the weapons and things that are going to be available during this time. These are sort of the issues and things that are going to be going on during this time. And so it can kind of act as a sort of time machine of sorts, where you can experience and see with your own eyes what life was like back then to some extent. You know, I know it's not supposed to be like a historical sim or anything like that, but, you know, you can at least make the argument that you're getting that out of the experience. At the same time, you're also getting a really good story, you know, and I don't think most people would begrudge someone the pleasure of watching movies because you're just sitting there staring at a screen, because most of the time you're, you know, there's something to be gained from watching movies aside from entertainment. You know, you can really get in touch with the, like, humanity. You can learn about new perspectives. Like, for example, I watched the Barbie movie a couple weeks ago, and on the surface, you know, it looks like just you know, a popcorn seller. It's a movie about a toy that's very colorful with lots of beautiful, famous actors in it. And so it's just whatever, mindless entertainment. But, you know, I feel like I learned a lot about women watching that movie, because ultimately the movie is about sort of women and their struggles and how they relate to each other and society as a whole. And I feel like watching that, I got to sort of empathize a little bit and learn a little bit about what it's like being a woman in a male-dominated society. And so I would say I definitely got something out of that movie. I got some perspective out of that movie. It was entertaining. I liked watching these people act and talk and sing, and so it was fun. But I got a little something out of it. I feel like maybe even just a little bit, it helped me become a better person. And a good movie will do that. Even something like The Lord of the Rings. You know, there's a lot to be gained from watching that. You can learn a lot about, you know, brotherhood and, you know, sort of doing the right thing. There's lots of lessons to be learned. There's lessons about friendship and maybe like forgiveness. It's just, they make you feel good. And hopefully you learn something at the end of the day. And so I would like to say with most games, you're learning something. You're becoming maybe a better person, hopefully. You know, game like Ghost of Tsushima, you know, that's a great example. And this is why I love this game so much. Ghost of Tsushima. If Vampire Survivors is gaming junk food, it's a Big Mac and fries and a shake. Like, it's horrible for you. This is barely even food. I don't think legally you can even call it food. It's calories, but they're just delicious calories. They're so good. But if you eat it every day, you're going to die. You're going to get sick, and you're not going to feel good about yourself. And you might even become addicted to it, as some people do. If Vampire Survivors is gaming junk food in that regard, Ghost of Tsushima is like filet mignon with sushi and salad. I mean, it's a whole 5-course meal, but a really healthy one, because you're getting that really fun gameplay experience. So it tastes good. It's fun. I'm enjoying it. But you're also getting just this vast, beautiful world that you can explore. It's like a work of art. It's like going to a museum and enjoying a work of art. You know, there's poetry, there's haikus that you get to write yourself. And so you're learning about that. You're learning about sort of the historical context of the Mongol invasion of Japan in the 13th or 14th century, whichever it was, 13 something. So the 14th century. I always get that mixed up in my head. I have to go back to the 20th century. I know the 20th century is 19 something. So the 19th century is 18 something. So the 14th century is 13 something. I always have to go back to that. Anyway, it's a weird thing. Can't we just call the 1900s the 19th century just for simplicity's sake, just for my poor brain? Anyway, you're learning something about history. You're learning about, you know, it's all fiction. The characters aren't real, but it's a real place and real historical events. You've got these Mongols invading Japan, and they failed with their invasion. Obviously, we know that now, but it's you know, you're learning something about it. And what I really like about it is it's not just teaching you about history, but it makes you interested in history so you can go learn it yourself. So if you're playing something like Ghost of Tsushima, you're like, wow, I didn't realize that, you know, Mongolia was this close to taking over Japan back in the day. So let me look into that. And you open up Wikipedia or you open up an encyclopedia or whatever, and all of a sudden you've got like a college course on Japanese history. And so, you know, there's a lot of value in that as well. Brett Williams says, my ADHD doesn't lend itself to watching movies or shows very easily. That's why I game. And that's fair. That's fair. You know, I don't like going and sitting at fancy restaurants all the time, but I like doing it every once in a while. And you know, you could say a game like Vampire Survivors, if it's junk food, you shouldn't just eat that. You shouldn't just eat junk food. You shouldn't just play Vampire Survivors because, you know, it's bad for you. It's going to fry your brain. It's going to make you sick, whatever. But at the same time, I don't want to play a game like Ghost of Tsushima every time too. If I just played these giant sweeping open world epics one after the other, it's kind of exhausting. And sometimes I just want something quick and easy. Sometimes I just want to, you know, make some Kraft mac and cheese on the stove and just down that. Instead of, you know, getting dressed up and going to a fancy restaurant and, you know, waiting for this course and that course and then paying an enormous bill at the end of the night. I can't do that. I can't do that every night. I can't do that every game. So sometimes, yeah, I just want something easy, but it's just, I like a lot of variety. Anyway, maybe it's not a great metaphor. I don't know. I'm trying to think of things to talk about for the podcast twice a week. And when I came up with this idea, Vampire Survivors had really done me over. And hold on just a second. Vampire Survivors have really done me over, and I was struggling. I was struggling. Like the game gave me headaches. I got Vampire Survivor headaches, so I had to pull back a little bit. But you know, talking more about that theme of like is the game. I got my Jin Sakai here too. Is the game, you know, good for you, bad for you, whatever. You know, I use these terms very loosely. I don't, this certainly shouldn't be construed as like medical advice or anything. Golly, my voice is just bleh. Anyway, sorry about that. And my camera's out of focus now too. What's going on? Everything's falling apart. The stream. Okay. So yeah, this is all just like, I love video games. And my point is just like, a game like Vampire Survivors is really just kind of mindless fun. And there's nothing else to be had from it. It's like a bag of Skittles. Like, this is just pure sugar. It's pure sugar, and it's enjoyable while it lasts. But, you know, too much of that type of thing, and it's not good for you. That's all I'm saying. So, and here I've got Sekiro here with me too. Sekiro is a good example of making you a better person, playing a game like that. Because for me anyway, and again, this is all just my own subjective experience, but like with Sekiro, like I learned so much about patience from Sekiro. My goodness. And I owe a lot of that to you guys as well. I would not have gotten through Sekiro without the cheers and the support that all of you give me every time I stream, especially a really difficult game like that. If I were playing that by myself, I would have chucked my PlayStation out the window, honestly. Like, I would have lost my mind. But it taught me to just chill a little bit, and it taught me perseverance. Patience and perseverance are, and discipline, I suppose, two things that, you know, I would say I don't have a whole lot of, but I certainly, like, within the context of gaming, I earned a lot of it playing Sekiro. Brett says lots of studies out there that show the benefits of gaming, though. It seems to do a lot in preventing dementia, for example. Gamers are proven to be better problem solvers as well. And yeah, and I don't diminish any of that kind of stuff. You know, I think that there are lots of benefits to be had from it. But within the realm of gaming, I really do think some distinctions need to be made, because, you know, like I said, there's some good and some bad, just like with anything, just like with movies. You know, you can watch something like Oppenheimer, which I still haven't seen. I'm very excited to watch it, but you can watch this sort of historical movie with historical characters dealing with real issues and human drama and relationships and all of these themes and things. It's a talky movie, right? And it's a talky movie that talks about big ideas and consequences and things like that. And so I feel like mentally you get a lot out of that movie. You could also watch something like, I don't know, Samurai Cop. If you're familiar with that B movie classic from the 80s, you know, that movie's trash and there's really nothing to be gained from it. It's excessive in all meanings of the word. I mean, it's violent, and I haven't watched the whole thing, but I'm pretty sure there's some sex in it. But you know, it's all just over the top, excessive nonsense. And so, just like with anything, you can't really paint video games with a broad brush and say they're all this or they're all that. It's just like anything else. There's the good and the bad. There's the kind that make you think, and there's the kind that just make it to where you don't have to think. And I certainly think games like Vampire Survivors or Tetris or whatever they're good at just being able to turn off your brain. And sometimes you need that. Sometimes at the end of the day, it's nice to just sit down and just, I don't have to worry about, you know, any consequences from any of this. I just want to sit and move the stick and just inject the dopamine into my brain so I can just shake off the day and not think about anything else. And you know, everybody needs that sometimes. And so it has its place, but, it's definitely, it's one of those that it's so addictive. I mean, I'm not, you could probably tell just from my demeanor and my personality and how I am that, I'm not any sort of drug addict. So I can't really speak to that experience, but, you know, Vampire Survivors is what I would imagine being addicted to drugs is like. And just one more, just one more, just one more. And it really has that quality. But again, I don't know that it's the best metaphor, but I really wanted to talk about Vampire Survivor Saying. And don't get me wrong, I love the game. It's super fun. It's one of the most fun games I've played in a long time. And it's almost too fun. But I realized after about hour 10 this past weekend of playing it that, it made me think, what am I doing with my time? I could be doing something with this. Like, even at the very least, I've got a big backlog of games that I could be playing through, so that I could move some projects forward for my channel. Vampire Survivors is one of those that doesn't really have an end. I mean, I guess it does, like once you unlock all the collectibles and beat all the levels with all the characters and stuff, but it's like, that seems like a lifelong quest. It's one of those that really you just pick up and there's no end to it. It's a waste of time. It really is a straight up waste of time. It's a super fun waste of time. But again, I'm the type of person that I really like just being able to check off boxes and say, I'm done with this one. Let's move on to the next. Like right now, I'm playing through Thronebreaker, The Witcher Tales on the Switch. And if you're unfamiliar with this game, it's sort of like, it's an offshoot of the Witcher series that the basis of the gameplay is Gwent. It's like a simplified version of Gwent. And you play as Queen Meve, the queen of Lyria and Rivia, and there's actually kind of this overworld view, and you walk around and you come into contact with other characters, and they'll initiate like card battles. And so you'll see some enemies on the map, and then you're fighting the enemies through the visuals of a card battle. Anyway, I've been playing this game forever. Like it turned out to be a lot longer than I thought it was. And it's not really, I don't think, a good game for streaming. And so I haven't streamed it just because it doesn't really lend itself well to streaming. It's not that type of game. I've kind of learned more or less what makes a good streaming game and what doesn't. Something like Tears of the Kingdom is perfect because you've got this expansive world to explore and limitless possibilities, and all kinds of stuff can happen. And it's fun, and it can just get silly. But, Thronebreaker is just kind of, you walk around, you play another card game, and sometimes I'll have to do the same battle over and over and over again. And I know that kind of gets dull for viewers. But anyway, it's taking me forever to get through this thing. And whenever I have spare moment, I like to put towards that just so that I can finally beat it, check it off. I can make a review video and call it good. I'm getting close to the end. I'm in the last area, I think. So hopefully I'll have a review of Thronebreaker finally. I've been playing it for like a year. But my point is, I'm the type of person who, if I have things that I need to do, I've got all these games like Thronebreaker, like Metroid Dread, like Tears of the Kingdom, like Chained Echoes, that I really need to sit down and just play and chip away at and check off and move on to the next thing, because there's more games coming out like Sea of Stars, Armored Core 6, Spider-Man 2, Lords of the Fallen. A lot of games coming out that I really want to play. But I have these little nagging thoughts in the back of my head that tell me, oh, you still haven't beat Thronebreaker. It's sitting on your Switch incomplete. And so I want to check those off. And then comes Vampire Survivors. Boom. Right in the middle of all that. And it says, you know what? Just have some fun. Don't worry about all that backlog you got to beat. I have a couple games I probably could have beaten if not for Vampire Survivors. If I'd played them instead, I'd have several games under my belt this past weekend. But here we are. Brett Williams. How much of that is just the voice of society telling us to be productive? We're encouraged to snap out of being sedentary every time we stop and just exist. That's a fair point. That is a fair point. But I don't, I don't see it through the lens of like, you need to be productive. I mean, maybe that's part of it. Like for me personally, that is, but I don't see that as like society telling me to be that way. I have my own goals, and I have my own things that I want to do, and my own things that I want to check off. And I like the feeling that comes with completing something. I like the feeling of beating a game and just saying, "Oh, I can check that one off my list, and I don't have to think about it anymore." It's like whenever I finish a book. I've started, my kids, my family and I, we like to go to the library, the local library, because my kids are voracious readers. They read so many books, and so we started going to the library regularly about a year and a half ago, and I think they're well on their way to reading the whole library, which is great. Just because we were spending a fortune on books online. We'd buy all these kids' books and have them shipped to the house. And then we realized we're spending a lot on books. The library has a lot for free. So let's just go there, and we'll go and get 30 books and bring them back home. Anyway, so I'm starting reading through a lot of the old classics. I finished The Outsiders, which I neglected to really take seriously in middle school. Shocker, I know. And I'm currently reading To Kill a Mockingbird. And just to recapture some of that information that I should have soaked in when I was younger, but it's nice to sort of fill in those information gaps. Anyway, I've got a long list of books I'm wanting to read, but it's so nice to like finish a book and say, I've got that one done. It's like a chore list almost. And it's a chore list of my own making, but it's nice to set this aside and say, I'm done with that. It feels good. Have a little accomplishment. I think that's why things like trophies in PlayStation games or achievements in Xbox games work so well, because it gives you that little dopamine hit of like, I completed something. I achieved something. I got this trophy. And you hear the noise. You're just hearing the noise. The or the booking. It's a nice feeling to get that checked off. And for me personally, and again, this is just my own experience, I like that feeling, and I like beating games, and I like completing them that way, because I'm a serial game abandoner. Like, before I started this channel, I would play games halfway through and then not beat them. I never beat games, honestly. And since I've started this channel, I've started beating more games. I've beat a lot of games. In the past, like 3 or 4 years since I started this channel, I beat more games than all the years combined before. Like, I would just get halfway through and just be like, whatever, I'm done with this. It's too hard or whatever. And I've become addicted to beating them just to check them off. Brett Williams, I read To Kill a Mockingbird when I was 7. My mother was kind of upset when she saw what I was reading, but I was so close to finishing it, she let me go. Once you're most of the way through To Kill a Mockingbird, I think, like, just read the rest of it. And, books are one of those things, much like any other kind of media. I mean, much like video games, much like movies, like, there's good ones and there's bad ones. There's some books that are more high-minded, that are going to teach you things about life, and others that are just, Danielle Steele, I'll just say trash. They're junk food. They're junk food books, Sorry, Danielle Steele. But like, they're just little quick bites, quick paperback bites that just give you a good feeling, and you move on. You're not going to get a whole lot out of it. It's just killing time. It's just entertainment. And some might see it as a waste of time. Others might see it as just, I enjoyed that time, so it wasn't a waste. But there we go. Anyway, my point is, Vampire Survivors is a junk food game in that it doesn't even give me that satisfaction of like checking off a box. Like, I would probably have to devote a significant amount of time to it to check it off and say, I'm done with this. But really, there is no end to it. It's one of those it's truly endless. It's kind of like Minecraft in that regard, to where it's just endless. The possibilities are endless. But at the very least, Minecraft, engages your creativity. My kids love playing Minecraft, and I'm okay with letting them play it because they get so much out of it. Their creativity, it's a blank canvas for them to make whatever their mind can come up with. And it's great to see. You know, my oldest daughter really started experimenting with redstone, which is sort of like Minecraft's version of electricity, I suppose. It powers things and connects things. So, I mean, you can make some really complicated things with redstone. And so she's really dove into how all of that works. And it really engages with your, you know, with those parts of your brain. And, you know, I think it could lead to, you know, similar concepts of like what's involved with like electrical engineering or something, said the guy who's nothing close to an electrical engineer. But you get my point. Like there's some benefit there, even to something like Minecraft. I would argue there's even some benefit to something like Counter-Strike. You know, you might see it as a waste of time, but you know, there's a lot of teamwork involved and coordination and important skills. There's planning and hand-eye coordination to some extent. But again, Vampire Survivors is just, I love it. It's so much fun. It's a double bacon cheeseburger and fries. But my goodness, I'm at the point in my life I should not be eating a double bacon cheeseburger and fries every day. I need some veggies once in a while. Brett Williams, that's why they put base building in Fallout 4. Otherwise, there'd be no reason to keep playing. Yeah, no, for real. That base building really extended the it extended the playtime of Fallout 4 for sure. But you know, sometimes, like I said, sometimes it's fun to get lost in something like that. I had some notes. I don't think I even mentioned them. Some other gaming junk food. I mentioned Vampire Survivors, obviously. It's the theme of this episode. Tetris is another good one. There's really nothing to be gained from Tetris, I don't think. There's, I suppose you could say like spatial awareness and planning. You know, you've got to kind of coordinate and make all these pieces fit together. So I suppose there's that. Bejeweled, Candy Crush. I mean, these are really just dopamine factories. And sometimes it's good to activate the dopamine and get a good feeling, but you can get lost in it really easily. And again, I don't want anyone to watch this and say like, oh, James is so critical of playing video games. Like, I'm not at all. Like, I play a lot of video games. I love video games, but I really do think that there are some that are beneficial in some way and some that really aren't at all. And Vampire Survivors is one of the latter. It's pure fun. It's pure fun without any of the story or morals or, you know, skills or anything. It's just walking around. So yeah, that's pretty much where we are. I don't know. Maybe this was just kind of like a gap filling kind of episode where I needed something to talk about. So here we are. Even a game like Stardew Valley, you know, that's another type of game that can really suck you in. It sucked me in, and I've spent a lot of time playing Stardew Valley. Whenever you look at the game library menu on my Nintendo Switch, and so I have it organized by how much time I've spent playing each game. Stardew Valley's in the top row for sure. It's in triple digits hours wise easily. I think it's like number 3 on my most played games after Smash Brothers and Breath of the Wild. So I've spent a lot of time playing Stardew Valley. But even with something like Stardew Valley, where, you know, it's such a time sink, you know, it engages a lot of your creativity as well. You know, you can design your own farm or garden or whatever. You've got this space that you get to sort of make your own. And so you can get creative with it. And your solutions, you can sort of engage your creativity in making it more efficient in your farming. And like, what can I use? What tools can I use here to really maximize my output for this farm? It also has sort of like relationship sims. And so you're learning about sort of relationships and interpersonal skills, I suppose. I'm kind of reaching with some of these, I think, but you know, it is what it is. You're getting something out of playing a game like Stardew Valley. Maybe it's not much, but you're getting something. Brett Williams, I've played Skyrim for so long that it's graduated to junk food. There's no thought, no consequences. I'm way too powerful to care about any of that. That's fair. That's a good point. Can a good meal become a junky meal? Skyrim has graduated to junk food. You've extracted all other value out of Skyrim. The mine is empty. It's dry. The well is dry. It's just pure mindless nonsense at this point. And I think we've all played games like that. But, you know, if anything, I want to use this as a way to say, you know, not all games are the same. You know, and gaming as a medium has really evolved to the point where you can't treat them all the same and just say like, well, video games are this. It's like, well, that's like saying food is this. It's like saying movies are this, books are this. There's a whole spectrum of video games within every category. You could say, you know, we can use games for educational purposes for sure. Like, I really believe this. That's why, like, a lot of times, like, I don't begrudge my kids playing Minecraft too much. Obviously, I don't want them sitting there for like 4 hours straight, straining their eyes and not getting exercise and things like that. But I don't begrudge them to play that because, like I said, it engages their creativity, and there are lots of skills to be gained from problem solving skills to be gained from using all the tools available to you in that game. Do I want them sitting around playing Vampire Survivors all day or Tetris all day? Absolutely not. You know, play it a little bit, that's fine. But it's one of those that's just going to strain your eyes and, you know, make you drool and give you a headache at the end of the day. Brett Williams, message received, James. I won't touch Vampire Survivors. And again, I don't want you to take that lesson from it. Do what you will. I love Vampire Survivors. Don't take this as my review of Vampire Survivors. I love it. It is really fun. I'm not getting anything out of it except fun, which is fine sometimes. But it's so fun. It's a problem. It's so fun. I will sit and play it for hours and hours at a time without even thinking. That's my really quick review. It will ruin your life. It's so fun. You'll get fired from your job. It's so fun. Your spouse will leave you. It's so fun. That's how fun it is. It's a dangerous kind of fun. I'll say that. It's fun with no end. It's endless fun. Brett Williams, boo, I hate fun. I'm going to go play The Last of Us 2 after this just to make sure I don't have fun. Yeah. I mean, Last of Us 2 is, yeah, that's a heavy game. Heavy. It has its fun moments, but like fun isn't the word I would use to describe that. Just like, you know, I don't know. Some movies I wouldn't say are fun. I can't think of anything at the moment. My brain's fried. It's 7:19 and my brain's already fried today. But you know, fun's great, but you can have too much fun. You really can. And I think Vampire Survivors is too much fun. It really is. Like, even right now, just thinking about it, I've got the theme music for the first level stuck in my head right now. And I kind of want to go home and play it. Like, just talking about it and thinking about it makes me want to go and play it right now. Like, I'm jonesing for Vampire Survivors right now. And it's like a drug. It really is. And I think therein lies the danger. It's and I don't get this feeling from most of the video games that I play. You know, I'll play a lot of games where I think like, oh, I'd really like to go home and play that. But it's not this like kind of impulsive like need that I get like with Vampire Survivors. Like when I was playing through Ghost of Tsushima, again, to go back to that one, or even Elden Ring, it's like, oh, I can't wait to get home and play that. But it wasn't like a sitting there like with the music stuck in my head, visualizing playing it, like jonesing for it, like really, like a crackhead, said the guy who's never done crack. But it's got this pull. It really does. And approach with caution. Those of you with addictive personalities, approach Vampire Survivors with caution. It will ruin your life in a really fun way. It's the meth of video games, Vampire Survivors. You do collect crystals, so there's that. Got to get more crystal. This podcast has gone off the rails. If you've listened this far, thank you, Brett, for sticking around the whole time. I'm glad I have somebody to talk to. I'm glad I have a counterpoint, at least, to all this nonsense. This was a really undercooked concept, I think. Like I said, I came up with this idea after my brain was fried from playing Vampire Survivors all weekend. So that alone, there's your lesson right there. If you want your creative projects to turn out like this podcast episode that's just sort of half-baked and not fleshed out at all, this is what happens when you play Vampire Survivors too long. You get these sort of half-hearted efforts. Brett Williams, I'm glad you're on early when I'm the only person awake in Colorado except ranchers and janitors. Yeah, why are you up so early, man? It's an hour earlier for you. I appreciate it, but man, it's getting to that point in the year where it's dark now when I'm coming over here to do this, because I have to walk from my house over to my office. And when I first started this podcast, it was still like, oh, beautiful sunrise. How nice. I can hear the birds chirping and I can see the sunshine, spreading its rays all over the beautiful landscape. Today I came over and it's just dark. It's dark and quiet. And I feel like I'm sneaking around outside like a thief in the night. So it's going to be hard to keep this going when it's like, 30 degrees outside, and completely dark. It's going to be dark whenever I go home pretty soon, before too long. It's going to get tough. The podcast might suffer a little bit in the wintertime, or I might adjust my schedule during the wintertime. I don't know. It's easy in the summer when it's bright out. Brett Williams, I print shirts early before the heat of the day sets in. I was up at 4. That makes sense. Before the heat sets in. I get that. But man, 4 a.m. That's a devil time to me. That's a devil time. I've always struggled with getting up early. I'm not even talking about video games anymore. Let's talk about my sleep schedule. Everybody. This is peak entertainment. Let's talk about this middle-aged ginger's sleep schedule. I hate getting up early, and I always have. But I'm sort of the podcast gives me a reason to get up early, because I know I should. I know I should get up early and get a start on the day and go to bed early, just like old Ben Franklin taught us. But it's still hard. And at the very least, it's nice to have this excuse to push me forward to do it. But anyway, we're coming to the close of this episode, thankfully. Let's just stop beating this dead horse and just bury it. This podcast episode, I'll go ahead and throw the sponsors out. James Loves Games brought to you by these sponsors: Jack Moore, Turbo 88, The Last Olympian, and Everspray. Thank you very much for being sponsors. Thank you to all the members as well. You guys contribute a lot. You, Brett, are one of those such people. Thank you very much for your continued support, everybody. Thank you. I don't have anything else to say. It's going to be really funny when I get like a corporate sponsor or something, And I'm like, this is brought to you by all of these people that I are so kind enough to contribute with their money to keep this channel going. And Swiffer. Have you tried the new Swiffer, folks? It cleans your kitchen floor so well. I don't see that happening anytime soon, but I think it would be very funny if that did happen. So anyway, Brett Williams, yeah, how's the show working with your schedule? I'd imagine it's been rough to get started. It's been rough, Brett. And by Raid Shadow Legends, that's one I'm not going to do. Like, I have principles, right? So even something like Swiffer, I can say like, yeah, I use this at home. It works. It cleans my house well. Or Tide Pods. They do twice the cleaning power on your laundry. Whatever. It's something I actually use. Raid Shadow Legends is not something I can say that I would use and enjoy. It's like, brought to you by Windex. I use Windex. It's great. Get your windows clean. It's not too expensive. Smells pretty good to some people. But yeah, no, not Raid Shadow Legends. I'm not doing that. But no, this has been rough for me. I'm feeling close to burning out. But I watched a good video the other day. It was kind of a motivational thing. It was talking about like financial stuff, and you know, if you're frustrated with being broke, try these things to you know, get out of that situation. And you don't need to worry, I'm not like broke or anything, but I'm not like swimming in dough. I could always do better. And so it was mostly a video about how really, if you want to get out of the sort of financial rut that you're in, or, you know, just the creative rut that you're in, if you're at a job you don't like and you don't like your situation where you're at, it was all about sort of like how to get out of that. And it really comes down to like, you need to work hard. You need to find some more ways to make money and work hard. And not that like making lots of money is the virtue to be gained here, but the virtue is like hard work is really the solution to a lot of your problems. And so I'm learning that, you know, sometimes stuff has to suck for a while in order for it to be better later. And so I've started going to the gym more recently, a couple times a week, which sucks. But it's good. You know, it's one of those things, just like getting up at 6 a.m. and recording podcasts. It kind of sucks, but, you know, I'm getting something out of it still. And I know in the long run, it's going to be good for me. So, Brett Williams here at James Loves Games. We're a Swiffer household. Yeah. What? My few dollars a month hasn't elevated your lifestyle and given you financial freedom? You know, I'm not a YouTube millionaire yet. I'm barely a YouTube hundredaire. I'm a YouTube buy a game or two a month an air is where I'm at. So yeah, it's a lot of work, but you know, it's a good thing I enjoy it so much, and it's a good thing I enjoy the company of fine folks like you, Brett. Anyway, I think that's probably enough for today. Join me tonight. I'm streaming tonight at 8, only up on PC. It's probably going to be a train wreck. Anytime I try to stream on my computer can like, it can stream or it can play a game. If I try to do both, it's probably going to struggle. It's probably going to have a hard time. We'll see. We'll see. I don't have these fancy big setups. You know, I'm not Ninja. I'm not PewDiePie over here. I don't have that Markiplier money for computer parts, for graphics cards and all that. So it's going to be, we're going to see what happens. We're going to see what happens. But, you know, Nathan was kind enough to throw some scratch my way to get Only Up. So we're going to play Only Up tonight. Hopefully it'll work. That's my goal. My wish for the stream tonight is that the game works. It runs well and doesn't crash. My computer doesn't catch on fire. The stream doesn't crash. It's just going to work well. So let's just hope for that at the very least. Whether or not I'm good at the game is irrelevant. I just want it to work well. So yeah. Anyway, thank you all for tuning in. Like I said, if you made it this far, I appreciate you very much. Your life is either very dull or you're really interested in what I have to say. Either way, I appreciate you very much. So anyway, I'll see you all next time right here on Holy Cow. Bye. Have a good day, Brett, yourself. Everybody else have an awesome day too. How is it only Tuesday? It feels like it's Friday next week already. I'm tired. Goodbye.